Hello, and welcome to the 9th episode of By the Fire with the Shamana, a short transmission bringing shamanic wisdom into your life, one conversation by the fire at a time. It is intended as a form of medicine to heal, open perspective, raise consciousness, and help you regain more freedom and power over your life. If you are curious to explore the hidden difference between learning healing techniques and becoming a healer, today's episode is for you. And before we begin, I want to invite you to pause for a moment. You are obviously coming from other activities, other thoughts, and right now we are opening together a sacred space for this transmission. So I invite you to take a few deep breaths. You inspire through the nose and you expire through the mouth. Again. And you feel the air you breathe circulating through your whole body, through each of your cells. You feel your whole body relaxing, becoming more present, more receptive, ready to activate your listening and learning abilities. And as you arrive more fully into this space, ask yourself, what is your state in this moment? How do you feel? It doesn't matter if you feel good or bad, just include, whatever you feel. If there is a comment section on the app where you're listening to this episode, I invite you to write how you feel there in the comment section so we can include it together in this sacred space. And when you feel ready, enter. When I started my journey in the healing world, I made a very common mistake lots of newcomers do. I believed that becoming a healer was primarily about learning techniques, healing methods, having certifications, learning rituals, tools, whatever. And of course, technique matters. I mean, I'm not saying they don't. They are valuable. They're even essential. When you start, they give you a structure, language, and ways of working. But over the years, I have come to believe that becoming a healer is about much more than learning techniques, because healing does not happen only through what we do. It also happens through who we are as a healer. We become the space through which energy moves. And that changes everything. When most people start this journey, they focus on what they can do. How do I protect myself? How do I clear energy? How do I connect with my intuition? How do I clear family memories? How do I develop my gifts? These are all valid questions, but there is another question that often gets forgotten. Who am I becoming while I learn all of this? Because the quality of your presence changes the quality of everything that happens around you. I'll give you an example. When you think about the people you trust the most, the people who make you feel safe, the people whose presence calms a room without them saying very much, most of the time, what affects us is not what they know, it is who they are. And I believe healing works in the same way. Technique performed from fear does not create the same space as the exact same technique performed from grounded presence. And the difference there is not the method. The difference is the person holding it. This is why I often say that the first tool of any healer is not a drum or a crystal or, a modality or even intuition. The first tool is ourselves. Our capacity to remain present, grounded, clear, connected to life and to reality, while another person is moving through their own process. And perhaps this is why so many people collect techniques but still feel uncertain. Because deep down, they are trying to acquire through knowledge what can only be developed through embodiment. They are trying to become healers by accumulating tools when the real invitation is to become the kind of person who can hold healing space. Healing begins with who we are when we practice healing. And if we are the instrument through which healing happens, then it becomes impossible to separate healing from self-awareness. Because wherever we remain unconscious, our unconsciousness comes with us. It comes into our conversation, our relationships, our work, and it comes into our healing practice. Techniques help us meet a person where they are. They give us language, structure, a way to begin work, but they are not the work itself. The real work is learning to know ourselves, to observe ourselves, to recognize our reactions, our assumptions, our fears, our blind spots, our beliefs, our shadow areas. Not because we are trying to become perfect, but because every layer of awareness gives us a clearer relationship with reality. And the clearer we see ourselves, the clearer we can see another person. The less we are trapped inside our own stories, the more available we become to theirs. The less we project, we assume, we judge, we interpret, the more we can simply be present with what is actually happening. One of the great paradoxes of healing is that many people begin this path because they want to help others. Yet sooner or later, they discover that the path keeps bringing them back to themselves, back to their own awareness, back to their own growth, back simply to their own relationship with life. Now, as in every episode, I would like us to experience this teaching together. So before we begin the exercise, just a quick reminder to use your judgment and stay safe if you're driving or doing any activity that requires your attention. If you feel comfortable, I invite you to gently close your eyes for a moment and simply take a slow breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Allow your body to soften a little. Relax your shoulders, your jaw, your face, and simply notice the space your body is occupying right now. Now bring to mind a moment when you genuinely wanted to help someone. It could be a client, a friend, a family member, a colleague, anyone who was going through a difficult situation. Take a moment to reconnect with that person, reconnect with your desire to help them. Now remember the context. What was this person experiencing? What was the challenge, the difficulty, or the pain they brought to you? Take a moment to place yourself back into that situation and ask yourself, what was it about their situation that made me want to help? What was I feeling in my body as they were describing their situation to me? Simply notice, no analyzing. Don't try to change anything, just observe what is present. Was it immediately obvious to me that I should intervene in that situation? Or did I hesitate? If I hesitated, why? Now go one step further. Was my desire to help them entirely about them? Or was part of me responding to something inside myself? Did their situation remind me of something I had lived through? Did it touch one of my own wounds or one of my fears? Or maybe an unresolved experience I went through? Just observe, not with judgment, just with curiosity and awareness. Sometimes the reality is what looks like pure compassion contains other things as well. Echoes from our own story, fear, attachment, identification, desire to rescue, or simply the discomfort of witnessing another person's pain, especially if you're an empath, that's very difficult. And none of this makes us bad healers. All of these emotions make us human. However, one of the most counterintuitive things for beginning healers to understand is that we do not accompany others from our emotional body, nor from our mental body. We accompany others more effectively from a neutral place of compassion, from the heart, from our higher self, from a place of deeper knowing that exists beyond our personal story. A knowing that often sees more than we can see as individuals. And why? Because it is a space that cares deeply, yet remains free from interference from our own history. A space that is not attached to a particular outcome. A place that trusts life enough to allow what is truly needed to emerge. Because what is best for another person is not always what we personally think should happen. And sometimes, from our limited perspective, we simply cannot see the larger picture. The role of the healer is not to impose an outcome. It is to become available to a greater wisdom than their own. And now just take one more slow breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And notice what this reflection reveals about your own way of helping others. Simply stay with it for a moment, allowing awareness to do its work. Now, as every week, I would like to leave you with a simple integration practice to continue exploring this concept during the week ahead. So this week, I invite you to simply observe the moments when you feel the impulse to help someone. And each time it happens, pause for a moment and ask yourself, why do I want to help? What part of me wants to help? And what part of me wants a particular outcome? Notice what happens inside you if that outcome does not seem possible. Does something become uncomfortable? Does something want to control, rescue, convince, or fix? There is nothing to judge and nothing to change. Simply becoming aware of these inner movements is already part of the work. And little by little, you become to recognize the difference between helping from personal attachment and accompanying from conscious presence. What this episode invites us to remember is that learning healing techniques and becoming a healer are not the same thing. Techniques can be learned in a course, but becoming a healer is a path. It is a lifelong commitment, a commitment to self-awareness, to continuously exploring the way our own stories, fears, belief, and unconscious patterns influence how we meet another human being. Because every time we become a little more conscious, a little more present, a little more aligned, we also become a clearer instrument through which healing can move. Before we close this sacred space together, I invite you to take one final deep breath. You inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And you simply notice how you feel compared to the beginning of the episode. You can also take a mental note about what you want to take with you from this moment by the fire today. And we can now close this sacred transmission space together. The journey continues within you. Walk gently, walk consciously, and remember, you are never walking alone. If the energy of this transmission resonated with you, I would be truly grateful if you choose to share it as you feel appropriate. Because every time this sacred space is shared, its energy continues to expand and reach the people who may need it most. You can also continue and deepen the journey with me on Substack. That is where I share Whispers from the Shamana, a weekly publication to nourish your deeper self and softly awaken the shaman within. The address is the digital shamana with an A at the end, .substack.com. Thank you truly for your presence here today. for taking this moment for yourself and for stepping into this space. And I will see you by the fire again very soon.